Hello, in a recent video that I made, I asked flat earthers to explain how there is a density and pressure gradient in the atmosphere, and these are well-known phenomena that are very well documented, and the simple answer is that it is caused by gravity, but since flat earthers refuse to believe in gravity, they have to find another way to explain how this phenomena occurs. But the reason why I asked them was because I was working on a video, and that's going to be this video here. I thought I would tackle the issue of airplanes having to dip their nose to go over the curve of the earth, and how it is completely preposterous because flat earthers don't know anything about physics or how planes work. And I would like to be upfront myself right now to say that I may very well be wrong, and I would definitely make a correction video. So if I do, look for a card right about here in the future should I make a correction video. I would also appreciate some feedback from real airline pilots if what I'm saying is true or not. But from the research that I have done, the plane truly is unaffected by the shape of the earth. And there are two main reasons why an airplane will remain at a given altitude. To address the flat earth excuse that the earth cannot be a globe because an airplane flying straight would just fly off into space, I would like to bring up the phenomena of air density affecting the lift of an airplane. And here on NASA's website, yes, NASA. According to NASA, lift and drag are both a product of a constant and air density. As I've alluded to this graph before, and now again, the higher you go up, the lower the density of the air that the airplane finds itself in. And so the density rho that they have here is going to be smaller, and the lifting capability of the wings is reduced. The second point I would like to make deals with the airplane's center of gravity versus the center of lift. And I'm going to leave a link to this PDF in the description below, so go chase that down. It's a very interesting read. The reason why they put the wings further behind from the center of gravity is to make the airplane slightly nose heavy. And the reason why they make the plane slightly nose heavy is that it allows greater longitudinal stability. So in essence, if you think of a balance beam and you have a weight pulling down on one side of the beam, this beam is supported by this center lift pivot, and you have a counterweight on the other side keeping it horizontal, you essentially get the equivalent of a balance beam weight like this. As you put more objects on the scale, you have to move the weight further out to achieve a balance. What's more interesting is that even if you have the weight properly adjusted to keep the balance beam balanced, all you have to do is place your finger on this and displace the beam off center, and gravity will naturally bring it back into balance. That's because we are dealing with a fulcrum, and I might end up making another video later on that has an animation that shows this effect. In essence, because the plane is designed in a similar way like a balance beam scale, any deviation from the preset horizontal stability setting will naturally cause the airplane to want to re-establish the previously set angle of attack for optimal flight. And what's really key about this configuration, as they say here, it prevents unintended oscillation of the pitch angle. To help illustrate this point, I created a small little animation that I hope people will find informative. And I start off by zooming in to the airplane. Then I add the lift vector and the gravity vector. And when these two are balanced, that means that the airplane is not going to want to gain or lower its elevation. I then include a red line that denotes the airplane's intended flight path, and any deviation from that would be a change in the airplane's configuration. If we look at placing the center of lift directly in line with the center of gravity, but when the two are in line like this, it doesn't cause much for an oscillation to occur. And when it starts to pitch up, the airplane gains height, but it also slows down. By slowing down, it reduces the lift and the airplane starts to fall and to start coming back down. And then as it starts going back down again, it starts speeding up, creating more lift, and it starts to go back up again. I may be wrong from what I've read, but I believe that in a configuration like this, once oscillation starts happening, it becomes very difficult to stop it. And so you could end up having the airplane pitching up and down quite a bit more. So as I've shown in this document, to solve that problem, they move the center of gravity more towards the front of the airplane, or they'll move the wings back a little bit. That causes the airplane to be a little bit nose heavy. And by doing that, the tail will want to come up. So there is an upward force on the tail section because the airplane is nose heavy. And to counteract that, they will adjust the horizontal stabilizers, I think that's what they are called, to cause a downward force to be applied on the tail to bring it back into level flight. And so now by doing this, they have achieved the stability of a balance beam scale like this. And just like a regular balance beam scale, as the airplane is flying around the curve of the Earth, any deviation from the intended angle of attack of the airplane will automatically, just like the balance beam scale, cause gravity to reorient the airplane back to the set configuration. The next part of the animation gives a demonstration of different density layers of the air that the airplane is flying in. What I've done here was I've added density layers, and I chose varying color schemes so you could see every layer distinctly. But if you keep an eye on this force vector and this one, they both remain the same. However, as the airplane is climbing into a different density layer, the effectiveness of the wings is reduced, therefore the lift is reduced, and the airplane is no longer in a balance. The airplane is going to want to come back down into a greater density layer. It will cause additional lift, and the airplane is going to want to come back up again to its set position here. So here, as I'm climbing up, you can see that these two vectors remain the same length, but this one is now shorter. It reaches the top of this boundary layer before the airplane starts to come back down. It'll overshoot the position that it wants to be in back into a slightly lower density layer. And now you can see that this lift vector is greater than the sum total of these two other vectors. And so as a result, the airplane is going back up, back to its preset position. So the argument that flat earthers make about an airplane having to dip its nose to go around the curve of the Earth doesn't make any sense. An airplane is not designed to allow that. So if all other things are equal, a pilot would not have to adjust the settings of the airplane from takeoff to landing, regardless of where they fly on the Earth. However, there are updrafts, changes in temperature and density. There are storms that they have to go around. But the biggest part is that the airplane is burning the fuel, and the airplane is lighter when it lands than when it took off. So at a very minimum, because the overall weight of the airplane is decreasing throughout the flight, the pilot or the autopilot has to constantly adjust and compensate for the required lift to keep it at that elevation. Finally, since I have this animation done, I'm going to include it right about here for your enjoyment. That's going to be it for now. If you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up, maybe leave a comment, all that other good stuff. You know what to do. And thank you for watching. I'm going to see you again in another video soon enough. So bye for now.